What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Well, we're 4 practices in now to fall camp. I've been at every practice. We've had about 30 minutes of time to watch all of it, not the full 2 hours that we had in the spring, but still some good time, some time to focus on some of the newcomers that came in that weren't available in the spring. So we're going to break down everything that I've learned so far through these first 4 practices, what I'm looking to see, some of my projections, have they changed a little bit, and we're going to bring Danny West on to give some of his opinion, of course, talk some recruiting, and yeah, we'll get to it now. All that more on today's episode of Hawg Sports Live. I've been thinking about getting a new car, so I was like looking around on the different websites and stuff, and the one that jumped out to me was craneteam.com, because the Crane Automotive Team has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crane Commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a vehicle, the Crane Team Service Centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle and get you back on the road. Check them out at craneteam.com. That's CRAIN team.com. Hawg Sports Live is driven by the Crane Automotive Team. I'm curious, though. I'm thinking about getting a new vehicle. So what do you drive? I'm like thinking maybe I like those Tahoes a lot. And then you get into the conversation like, well, do you go Chevy Tahoe? Do you go GMC Yukon? What do you drive? I'm interested to hear some of your reviews, because you go online and you can't tell what's real and what's not. So interested to hear what other people like out there. I'm thinking SUV. I'm just not sure yet, but it's about time. It's about time we look into a new one. As I mentioned, Danny West is going to be joining us. I want to get this out there also. Hawg Sports is 75% off today. It ends today at 11 o'clock. So if you've been considering signing up at Hawg Sports, you want all of our information that we're putting out, tons of stuff from fall camp, not just, we put out some of the free stuff you see from press conferences, but also a lot of VIP stuff, our observations, things we're hearing and stuff like that. It breaks down to $250 a month, $30 for the entire year. Build at $30 for the entire year. So it's a hell of a deal. Sign up at Hawg Sports right now. You have until 11 o'clock. Okay, 8/4/25. Today's Monday. It ends at 11 o'clock tonight, and then it's gone. So sign up for 75% off at Hawg Sports. Just make sure that you do it today. You guys know all the ways to watch and listen. Thumbs up, likes, so on and so forth. Give us all that. All right, let's start with some of the defensive tackles, because I really spent a lot of time watching defensive line, defensive tackles, defensive ends, defensive tackles today. One of the things that jumps out to me is there are there 5 newcomers on the defensive line in this class? Freshmen. Arkansas, especially at defensive tackle, has under-recruited that position. Like, if you think about it, they've got Cam Ball that they brought in from the high school ranks. He's a redshirt senior. They brought in Ian Gerfrard, who's a redshirt sophomore from the high school ranks. And Caleb James, who was actually brought in as a defensive end and moved to defensive tackle, who's only played in 3 games in his career. That's not a lot of guys. If you look at the 2 deep, you're also, you're talking about Danny Saili, who came in from the transfer portal, David Oki, who came in from the transfer portal, Frank Mulipola, who came in from the transfer portal. So, and then after that, you're really there's a high number of freshman defensive tackles. So I think that's a really good thing. I was kind of watching those guys today, just like, who do I like the best out of that group? I've been a big fan of Caleb Bell since he arrived in the spring. Now, if he's Arkansas's 5th defensive tackle, which is very possible, don't think that that's a good thing, personally. I think that in this transfer portal age, you should have 5 guys ready to go who are in their 20s, who are experienced veteran college players. And maybe that was hard to get this year. There wasn't a wealth of defensive ends and defensive tackles in the transfer portal like there has been in years past. So maybe that was hopeful thinking by Arkansas, and it just didn't work out that way. So Frank Mulipola, I just don't know. I kind of see maybe a defensive end with his body style. I'm not seeing defensive tackle like I'd kind of hoped. Maybe Justice Boone is a guy that you could work inside in certain situations, on third down and long. So I think there's a little bit of concern with that. Not that you're not generally going to just use like 4 defensive tackles. It's just that somebody's getting banged up. Somebody either for a long time, or you're having, guys bumped and bruises, missing a game or something like that, and you're going to have that 5th guy. So 5 is a good insurance policy. In the SEC, with the transfer portal, 5 is the number of defensive tackles that you have ready to go, ready to play. I really like Danny Saili. I hope I'm not wrong on that, but when I see him out there, he's quick. I think he feels good. I think he's dropped 55 pounds or so from going from 375 to whatever he is now, 318. I think that he feels good. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like when you hit your stride, maybe you just started working out and you've been at it for like 3 months, and you're doing things that maybe was impossible, and you just feel light and you feel good. I think that's how Danny Saili feels. He packs a punch. He's super strong. I like him. I think he's a starter. I think he starts next to Cam Ball, and I think Ian Gerfard, who I would have liked to have seen drop down to about, at least 360 or so. He's still at 388. I think the hope with him is like you get 4 snaps in a row out of him, like really good quality snaps, and give those guys a breather, be just kind of the next guy in there. And then David Oki, I think that he'll help him. He's listed at 6'2", probably 310 or so. That might be a little generous on that 6'2", but he's got the biggest bench press on the team. He's 425 bench, big squat numbers. He's a powerful guy for a guy that you think of being like a quick defensive tackle. He's got a lot of strength. So that's probably your 4. And then your 5th guy, I think maybe you're talking about Bell. Maybe you're talking about Reginald Vaughn. I like the way Reginald Vaughn looks a lot. Now, Bell, to me, the reason he jumps out is he's explosive off the line. He's about 287, so he's, you want him to get up 310 range at least. But that's not going to happen this year, I don't think. Reginald Vaughn wasn't here in the early in the spring, but to me, like, he's listed at 6'2", 302. I think he might be taller. Like, usually I see 6'2", somebody listed at 6'2", and I'm 6 foot, and I'm looking at him like, not 6'2", bud. But I feel like Vaughn checks out at that size. And I like Otis too. I like Kevin Otis. I think that he's a little bit smaller. Not small. It's weird calling those guys small, but he's not like just like a massive defensive tackle. But I was watching him in some of the drills today, opening his hips, swimming through. He moves pretty well, and he packs a nice punch too. So glad to see that they've got a lot of those young guys out of the high school ranks. We'll see, how it sticks out. Obviously they brought in players before and it just didn't work out. I mean, look at the 2023 recruiting class. It's almost completely decimated already. So just a few thoughts on defensive tackle. Again, 75% off, by the way, at HawgSports. We'll get Danny West in here shortly. Sticking to the theme of the defensive line, let's flip over and stay up front and talk about the offensive line a little bit. I've said this before on the show, and I still feel like this is going to be a better unit than they had last year. Is it lost on anybody that the potential starting right tackle and right guard could be named Shaq and Kobe? Anybody talking about that? Glitch in the matrix kind of deal. That's kind of like along the lines of like when the Pope died the day after Easter, and then you had the same week you had Juju Pope and Shamar Easter enter the transfer portal. That's the kind of things that makes me think that like is this a simulation or something? Maybe it's God's simulation, and that's what we're living in. But to me, I think that's a really cool storyline that they're named Shaq and Kobe could be starting on the right side. Now, what Sam Pittman said is he's going to run those two guys together. To me, like, these guys are being prepped to be the starters. That's me reading between the line. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but like, we're not going to roll them out there as a starter right off the bat, but we're going to keep them together. You know what I mean? But yesterday, Kobe Branham was the starting right guard when they came out in fastball. So they did break him up a little bit. I just think when it's all said and done, I'm pretty confident on Shaq. We don't get to see a lot of one-on-one work, but we see some work with the offensive line versus the defensive line. They strapped on shoulder pads yesterday. They wore them today. So they've been doing some one-on-one stuff. And Shaq just looks really impressive to me. And I think they really like Kobe. I think the pectoral set him back a little bit. But again, I think it's interesting that you've got Keyshawn Blackstock, Shaq McCroy, Kobe Branham, all battling there at that one spot. Three guys who started. Excuse me, I misspoke. Excuse me. Amarian Harris, Kobe Branham, and Keyshawn Blackstock. Three guys who started at least one game last year. I think Blackstock started like 9 maybe, and Amarian started all 13. But who started games last year, all competing for one starting job. I think 2 of those guys aren't going to end up starting for them. I've talked about left tackle where you have, you had Fernando Carmona last year, and they brought in a guy and moved Fernando Carmona into what they feel is a more natural position for him because they think they got a guy who can play left tackle better. To me, that says they're going to be better at left guard, left tackle. I wasn't ever blown away with what they had going on at center, starter or backup. I think that they're probably going to be improved there. Caden Kittler's not gigantic. He's 6'3", 300 something, but he played center last year, and that's the first time that they've had that since Ricky Stromberg, the guy that played center last year and going to play center this year. I mentioned right guard, and then I think Shaq McCroy just has such a high ceiling. He's down to 344 from 362, I think. So he's lost 18 pounds. He looks good. He's moving well to me. So how much better is the offensive line going to be? I don't know yet. I just feel pretty comfortable that it's going to be better on the offensive line. As I mentioned, we're getting away from all the YouTube ads and stuff, so I do want to tell you, I love having people that I believe in and things that I like. It's things that people reach out to me and want to advertise, and it's a brand that I discover that I'm like, man, this is really nice. Like Crane, for example. The Walker brothers, I've known these folks for a long time. I actually used to live next to one of them. They're the Coles, though. But Thomas and I were neighbors for a long time. You can see him up there at Walker Brothers. So what I want to say about Walker Brothers is they just opened a new store in Rogers, 3503 South 55th Street, number 101, Suite 101. I have not been there yet. I plan to go there very soon because I accidentally ruined a couple of golf shirts that I have by thinking I'm smart and putting on, rubbing the lotion in, the sunblock, and it just it ruined like 3 of my golf shirts. So I'll be up there soon. I want to check out the Rogers store. They're also in Fayetteville, been in Fayetteville for a long time, 577 Millsap Road, Suite 6. They've got these people support Razorbacks. They've got all the Curly Tail and Crazy Hog logos on brands like Peter Millar, Johnny O, Horn Legend, Divot Sportswear. I'm a big fan of Faraday. They got a lot of Faraday there. Faraday's for me, I'm usually somewhere between a large, I'm kind of a weird fit sometimes, between a large and an extra large, and Faraday's large it just fits right in there. So go check them out. One cool thing they've got is called the Freshman Experience. If you're ready to start dressing like a grown-up, they have different packages where they will put you in stuff. They have the starter, the classic, the legend. I don't think it's just for freshmen, but anybody who maybe feels like they don't dress their age. We have a few of those sports fans. You know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get over to my buddy Danny West because Danny knows what he's talking about. What's up, Danny?
Hey, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you been?
I'm good, man. Trying to put the cat away for a moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I heard it get out. Sorry if I'm out of breath. Hey, is your mic a little bit hot?
Your mic is a little bit echoey.
Okay.
I don't know if you have it set to where your mic is coming through your mic or if it's coming through your computer. It's a setting when you enter the studio.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be.
We're going to let Danny get that figured out real quick. But Danny, if you're listening, it's a setting when you go into when you set it up, it asks you where you want your speaker to be. All right, let's hop over to, while Danny gets that figured out, I want to talk a little bit about some other position groups. And one of the points that I want to make about this team, because I'm just going to say this, it is a good-looking group. They're big, okay? There's a lot of options. There's a lot of possibilities at different spots, like cornerback, for example. But the question I'm going to ask here right now, who are the superstars? Because everybody on Notre Dame is going to be looking good. They got a bunch of good-looking players. Everybody on Ole Miss, like minimum in the SEC, like if you're starting, especially in the portal age, where everybody's at least in their 20s and stuff, if you're starting in the SEC, you're a good player. Arkansas also has a lot of good players. I like some of the work that they've done. I mean, I'm looking out at the cornerbacks like, man, that's a really big group of corners. Is there a shutdown guy? A defensive end. Is Quincy Rhodes, is he going to be a good player, or is he going to be an all-SEC player? Is he going to be a guy that gives them fits? Is Mike Washington, is he going to be a 700-yard back? Which, hey, that's a stud. You do 700 yards in the SEC, that's studly work. Or is he going to be a 1,200-yard back? Is he going to be a badass? Those are the kinds of questions that I have about this team. All right, let's see if we got Danny back on now. How you doing, Danny?
Hey, man, you got me now?
Yeah, I got you. It might just be that you're a little bit echoey, maybe the room that you're in or something like that. But we're going to keep on with it. First of all, let's touch on the recruiting side of things. What's the latest that you've got with Razorback recruiting right now?
Yeah, we'll start with the newest commitment from last Friday, Trey. Jordan Avenger. I keep wanting to say Avenger, but it's Avenger. 6'2". He calls himself 6'3". We're going with 6'2", 225. Physically, like I've talked about, Biddy, he reminds you a lot of Rocket. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's Rocket Sanders, going to be on the Chargers and all that, right? But, he's a good-looking kid. Obviously, Arkansas is really the one that wanted him at running back. Everybody else wanted him at linebacker, as we know. He had 671 yards last year, rushing yards. 9 receptions for 234 yards, played a little bit of quarterback. He had 11 receiving touchdowns last year. And then on defense, he had 54 tackles, 3 forced fumbles, and a pick. So, pretty good athlete. Like I said, everybody wanted this one at linebacker. Arkansas obviously wanted him at running back, and now we'll see kind of where they go from here. You've been out there, you've watched the freshman running backs the last few days. Obviously, they signed 2 in 2025. We'll see if they can do that again. But you don't see that a lot, doubling up back-to-back years anymore, right, with everything being so transfer heavy now. But, if they could justify taking another one, I think you still have to look at Jaden J.J. Hill out of Tupelo, Mississippi. Obviously, he's committed to Mississippi State, but visited Arkansas, visited Tennessee. Auburn's been in there for JJ. And, you look at Mississippi State right now, Trey, I hate to bang on them too much because Arkansas has been there, the 2-10, the 0-8 in the SEC. But then you look at their schedule this year, buddy, and I'm not sure it gets much better for them. So, Coach Levy, I think everybody likes the guy and kind of pulls for him if they're not playing Arkansas type deal. But, man, go look at that schedule and find more than 3 or 4 wins. So my point is, if they go 0-8 again, you might start looking at a J.J. Hill. He's been committed there since for 14 months now. But maybe that one breaks open again and gives them an opportunity to take 2 more running backs this year.
That's what they used to say back in Houston that day, Danny. Somebody got in his ear.
Yeah.
In his ear and get him to decommit.
There's a lot of people in a lot of people's ears nowadays.
Yeah, there are. So, Danny, you've seen footage and all that stuff, and been listening and watching. What are your impressions of what you've seen so far with this team now that we're 4 days into camp?
Yeah, fall camp. One of the first things that just from my perspective, Trey, doing it for so long, I always think who's going to help them. From the freshman class first. And nowadays you see that list just keep shrinking, right? So I think, obviously Warren, Arkansas is always going to have one. So we'll see what Jordan does at receiver, I think there's an opportunity. Obviously, there, his size, physical attributes are going to help him. But outside of that, buddy, it's all about the offensive line for me. I think it was tough for me last year, Trey, to be too hard on the offensive line because, you think about it, Mateos has dealt with lower numbers. He's dealt with an offensive line that's, in terms of roller coaster, hasn't been at the top of the game when he walked in and took over again. So with those numbers, with what they did, and I heard you talk about Caden Kittler, and I'm sure we'll get into some of that, as fall camp rolls on here. But a lot of these moves we're talking about and improving offensive guard and offensive tackle, it only happens because of Kittler, right? I mean, we can talk about Robinson and Shaq and Broussard and all these guys, but and nobody wants to talk about the center. I get it, but 6'3", 295, that's not going to blow everybody away. But I'm telling you, if he's the center that they think, that's why they're able to get better across the entire offensive line, not just fixing the tackle spot. I think you got to fix it inside out, don't you?
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, Sam Pittman always, inside then outside and then inside, I guess, because Pittman always says you find out who your centers and your tackles are, and then you figure out who your next best, and they go at the guard spots.
Yeah.
But I do think you can be critical of the offensive line, but I think you make a good point in the sense that Mateos' offensive line, it's hard to be critical of Mateos because what he inherited and what the short amount of time that he had to work with. I think what he's done in a very, you look at some of the guys that they brought in. I don't know as much about LJ Prudhomme because he wasn't here in the spring, but I really like Cherry and Cash Courtney out of the freshman class that he brought in to go out and get 5 transfer offensive linemen. Is it 5 or is it 4? And then Bubba Craig from junior college.
We're counting Bubba in that.
Yeah. So to go out and get that many guys, which I think is difficult to do because it's just like we got, a couple guys who started returning. We got a guy who started the bowl game and another guy who started the bowl game returning. But come in here, compete, and they have competition. They did not have that last year or really the year before. I think a lot of that's offensive line coach, just almost getting Sam Pittman fired, to be honest. And I think that what Mateos has done in a short amount of time has been pretty positive, and we'll see how things go this year in year 2.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But outside of that, Trey, if I could switch over to defense, I'd probably go linebacker on you.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think, I joked with you, I think over the weekend about something Coach Pitt talked about last week. He said, it's time for Wyatt Simmons to do something.
Yes.
Man, it's a redshirt freshman. He's been here like 6 months, and it's time for him to do something. Now, I know Coach Pitt didn't mean it like, hey, you got to do something or it's time to go. He didn't mean it like that. But the more I think about it, the more I'm impressed by how they have recruited at linebacker. And I do find it humorous that now we're like, hey, Wyatt, it's time to get it going,
Yeah.
I think they've recruited really well, especially a couple of those transfer guys. Nobody talks about Trent a whole lot, but I think he's going to help eventually. Andrew Harris is going to step in there. Nobody's talking about him right now, but this time next year they will be.
Pittman mentioned Waylon a little bit the other day, just kind of out of the blue. He has not mentioned Andrew Harris yet, although Harris had an interception the other day. I think it was wrongly attributed to another player, but he did have an interception. The thing with linebacker that concerns me is I love their first 3. Okay. I think that they obviously have recruited really well there. Brett Bielema, when he was here, he'd always say the middle linebacker is the guy that if you lock the whole team in the room, and locked them in there and told them to fight, the middle linebacker is the guy that should walk out. Steven Dix looks like he could. I would hate to get in a fight with Steven Dix. I mean, he is put together. Like he is carrying some weight and moving.
Biddy, I wouldn't fight the kicker at this age.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Very true. Scott Starzik. Look out.
I don't want no smoke.
But I think that they've got 3. But what concerns me a little bit, Danny, is the talk of putting 3 linebackers out there to kind of supplement for not having established defensive end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, trying to cover it up a little bit.
I think you can get away in a sense of like playing 3 linebackers, starting 2, and then having your guy that comes in and they all kind of play the same amount. They did that a lot with Hayden Henry and Grant Morgan and Bump. But the problem is at the end of the season, Hayden Henry's shoulders were done. And Grant Morgan had, bionic elbow issue, and, Bumper had so many different injuries. And I think even carried on into his senior year. So, if you're going to do that, you're going to end up with a bunch of banged up linebackers. So it is time for Wyatt Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
It is, they need Trent Whalen and Andrew Harris. Hopefully not Tavion Wallace. I like Tavion a lot. His testing numbers were really exceptional this offseason, but freshman linebackers are very rarely any good. You should not be relying on any freshman. It should just be guys that are either 20 or about to turn 20, that you're relying on at just about every position group on defense, in my opinion. Maybe a corner. Sometimes a corner can get away. But
name one. Name one freshman linebacker we've seen at Arkansas that just went out there and from start to finish was the guy.
And there's going to be people in the comments that'll say Dre Greenlaw, but I would encourage everybody to go back and look at the Auburn game that year and see what happened in overtime, where they just literally, and I'm not just making this up, they ran at Dre Greenlaw every single play, ran wherever he was. And the only reason, and the time that they stopped him right before the snap, they moved him out, and they moved him to they switched him real quick, and they ended up getting a stop, and Arkansas ended up winning that game. Freshman linebackers are rarely good players. So, did you hear my thing on just the superstar idea, Danny? Because I look out at these corners and I like the looks of Jordan Young. He's started every day that I've been out there where they have done team at the nickel spot. I like Kenai Walker. Those dudes are both good size. Kenai's 6'2", 200 something. Selman Bridges 6'2", every bit of 6'2". He looks 6'3", 185. Larry Worth back at safety, 6'4", 225. Miguel Mitchell, 6'1", 222. Jaheim Singletary, he used to be called Slim. He's up over 201 pounds. He gained 16 pounds, 12, 16 pounds or something. Keyshawn DeVilla is the only guy that's a little light at 165, 6'1", 165. It's a good-looking big group of cornerbacks. They did some really strong work in the transfer portal. But again, is there a lockdown guy among that group? Is there a guy that you put on an SEC stud receiver and say, okay, let's see how this turns out. We feel pretty good about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think these guys are good players. You have to be in the SEC. Everybody's got a good player.
Tell you what would make them a lot better is a pass rush.
Yep.
Yeah, consistent pass rush, and we don't know yet. And that's kind of the scariest part. If you had to list the scariest parts going into this season, what are they? It's lack of a proven pass rush.
Yep. I like Quincy Rhodes. I just put him in one category, and then kind of everybody else. Is Phillip Lee going to be a pass rush specialist? Is Charlie Collins, is he ready to step up into that kind of role just in his second year?
Trey, have you talked about Phillip Lee very much in the first few days here? If so, I'm sorry, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on him personally.
Yeah, to me, he looks like he's put together like an end. I think a lot of people see 6'4", 240 and think, linebacker, but they're going to stand him up a lot. He looks he moves pretty well. I just have not seen him in one-on-one, going against an offensive lineman. I haven't got to see that yet. So he moves well. He looks the part, physically looks like a guy that can help him, but I just don't know yet until we see him maybe in full pads. That's probably when I'll maybe have a little bit better idea, but they need him to come on. They need Collins.
Nice.
I just don't know about end. If something happened and they lost Quincy for a little bit or something, that would be really scary to me. That's my biggest question mark on that. I actually think they could be okay at defensive tackle, especially, if they stay relatively healthy. But defensive end, I just worry a little bit about that group. And you're right. We talk about giving up 200 and almost 50 yards a game last year through the air, ranking last in the SEC. It's not all because now some of it, you look at that Ole Miss game, some of it's because of the defensive backs, plenty of it. But having a good pass rush obviously helps a lot.
Yeah.
What else? What have we not touched on, Danny? Quarterback. We all feel good about Taylon.
I'm here for the ride. I'm just co-host.
Wide receiver. We spoke to those wide receivers today: Omega Blake, Monte Harrison, and Raylan Sharp. I actually feel pretty encouraged about the wide receivers. I think they've got a chance to be pretty decent there. Is there a stud though? Superstar?
Yeah.
Those are the kind of questions. That's what it's come down to me, because I like the looks of those guys. They're big. They got some guys that can run. They're an old team, even though they have 50 new players. It's an older group. There's like 30 seniors on this group. But superstars, studs, ballers, like guys that are just a little different, I think Taylon Green is that. Taylon Green could be a difference maker, and if you're going to pick a spot, quarterback would be the spot to have him. But, I just wonder, like, is there a guy that's just – because, even when you ask coaches, like talking with Ronnie Fouch today, like I got the impression that from him that everybody is going to have a breakout season, and that's how coaches talk. Like, but everybody that we asked him about,
Randy Shannon going on,
is going to have this remarkable, season, and that's just not how it's going to turn out. It's just not going to be that way. So somebody's got to be that stud. And he kind of talked about Andrew Armstrong feeding the stud. He was their stud last year. They got him the ball, and now he thinks it'll be a little more spread out. Well, that's great, but in my experience, most good teams have a stud dominant wide receiver.
I can tell you this, just since the spring, it's felt to me like you better get ready for a lot of underneath, like Raylan Sharp might be the dude, like 80 catches.
He can catch a lot of passes. Yeah. I hope
Maybe
it's Omega Blake. I think Omega, from what I've seen so far, I think that he's got a chance. They really like what they've seen from Monte Harrison. And talking to him today, like just getting into football shape and, relearning how to run routes and stuff. He's like, knocking off the rust isn't even close to an appropriate term. Like he's talking about needing some WD-40.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's made a big jump too. And Antonio Jordan, let's talk about him. Everybody else is. 6'6", 234. He's looked good out there. I don't know if he's going to run the depth of the route that they want every single time or any of that stuff, but man, when it's a 50-50 ball up there, I like Arkansas's chances with him. They think he's got a chance to be special. That's
good to hear. And I kind of hope we continue this trend where everybody that comes out of Warren is just kind of a mystery, where nobody knows a 40, and you just kind of assume when he gets to Fayetteville, he's going to be.
What's going on in that town? Is like,
dude, I have no. And
5,000 people. Did Bill Brasky live there or something?
I don't know what it is, but hey, keep it coming, Bo.
Yeah, keep whatever's happening in Warren. Keep it rolling. All right, Danny. Anything else to add?
No, man. I wish I had more for you. Slow time for recruiting. I think people realize that. And,
it's at the right time. We've all shifted. We're counting down the days. It's 26 until Razorback football. That's what everybody wants to talk about right now.
It just makes me feel more useless than usual.
Yeah. Well. I'll let you hear about it then.
Thanks.
All right, brother. All right. Talk to you later. All right, everybody. That's Danny West. Again, follow Danny at Danny West on 24/7 on X, and read all of his content at HawgSports, where again 75% off right now. Ends today. $30 for the entire year. Breaks down to $250 a month. That's the best deal that we offer. So if you're waiting around for something better, you're not going to find it. Ends tonight at 11 o'clock. HawgSports.com. Part of the 24/7 Sports, your number one independent source on Arkansas sports and recruiting. I've been looking, like, where are you at? Like, a lot of people tell me this. This is what people have said. Trey, you're getting me excited again, from the articles that I write and stuff about what's going on. My response to that is, that's on you. You're getting yourself excited, and you should be. Even if they're going to suck, you still should go in with excitement. Like, the attitude of going in is like, here we come, I'm going to suck again. Like, that may happen, but like, I don't know, if you can't get excited for football, it seems like such a long gap from when the season ends to when we get football again. And there's, not that many games. Like, you should be excited about it. Let them rip your heart out. I mean, that's just part of being human. Like, get excited, let them rip your guts out, be the kid crying on the curb after the Razorback game. I mean, whatever. Like, but that's on you. I'm like still thinking like they're probably going to win 5-6 games or something. I think they could be a better team, but the schedule is just so brutal. Everybody's got good players. I think it's going to come down so much to decision making. What happens when you cross that 50-yard line, right? Do you make the right decision on the punt, to kick a field goal, to go for it if it comes down to that kind of situation on fourth down? Do you protect the football? Do you win the turnover battle? Are you a high penalty team? Are you lucky? Like, those things matter in football. That ball don't bounce straight up and down, Houston Nutt. Where do you think Arkansas is? So, looking at Bet Saracen right now, where you should download the Bet Saracen app's the way to bet in Arkansas. Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. If you take them at 3+ regular wins, it's -1,800. 4+ is -700. 5+ is -220. And then if you go over that, if you get them to bowl eligible, you're at +115. You can go all the way up to 10+ regular season wins. It's +3,000. Somebody want to do the math on that and tell me how that breaks down? We're also going to be doing picks this year. Every Thursday, we'll be doing the HawgSports Bet Saracen wager wagon. So we'll be picking our favorite team, our favorite games, keeping track of it, all that kind of stuff. So we'll have a little bit of a segment like that. So go download the Bet Saracen app if you haven't done so already. Arkansas's #1 sports betting app.
It's a fine barbecue, Joe.
My own secret recipe.
Where's Super Sid? I got him on the FaceTime.
Where you at, Sid?
Hey, I'm in Milwaukee at the Bucks game.
How are they playing?
They're pretty good. They just need to get healthy.
Speaking of playing, what's shaking in Bet Saracen?
Oh, great offers, Pat. Like for new players to Bet Saracen, they'll get $125 to use for new bets.
Gotta love Bet Saracen.
All right, where are we headed next, folks? Questions? We're going to get some questions in. Have we covered just about everything? I mean, Taylor Green throwing the ball really well. Obviously, the narrative, I'm not going to just repeat the same narrative, year 2 Bobby Petrino offense. I just did it. Improved offensive line. Who are the studs, though? Like, is Braylon Russell, is he going to be like just a guy that just gets it for you? And, short yardage, you got to have it. Is he going to be a guy that just wills his way because he's better than what's trying to tackle him? Those are the kind of questions I have. It's easy to look out there and say, man, it's a really good-looking team. It's a really good-looking team. In fact, let's put a little video up. How about that while I talk about it and answer some questions? Here's some practice footage. If you can't hear me, let me know. I think I've got it set to where you can still hear what I'm saying. But as you can see, these are some big dudes. Sam Pittman seems real excited. When he's over there talking with the secondary, he's like, I really like this group, man. I bet he said it 7 or 8 times on day 1 or 2 when I was out there. And I was just I wasn't intentionally following Sam Pittman around. It just seemed like whatever group that I went over to is the group that he was at. Maybe he had some of the same ideas I had on who to watch, but it's a big group of cornerbacks. I know that. I mean, and they move well. It's just like, and Marcus Woodson too. Like, I really like Marcus. I think he's a really good secondary coach, but they had a bad year last year. I mean, the numbers don't lie. Like what happened against Ole Miss, and again, it's not all up to the secondary. I mean, Arkansas lost their starting quarterback in that game also. I mean, I know it's the other side of the ball, but that still impacts the vibe of the game. Pass rush, all those things matter. But I do think he's a good secondary coach. And I like that they have a lot of competition there that we don't even right now know who the starters are going to be. I think one will be Selman Bridges. The other could be Kenai Walker. I think that's a strong possibility that it's him. There's a lot of other possibilities there. And then safety, like I can't remember having 6'4", 226 and 6'1" or 6'2", 222 at safety. That's, especially in an era where things are so much different with cornerbacks getting taller and safety starting to look more like cornerbacks. Now you have these two hulkish safeties back there. You know what? I say Kenneth Walker. Here's who I think it's going to be. I think it'll be Selman Bridges possibly on one side. I think it'll be Julian Neal on the other side, another 6'2", 200-plus cornerback. I forgot to mention because he wasn't enrolled early. But that's who I think it could be in the secondary. And then I think, Jordan Young at nickel, maybe Kenneth Walker moving back and forth. Maybe Kenneth starts. It's possible he could start. But I think Neal's going to end up taking a starting spot. He's looked really good. You got Xavier Sori and Steven Dix at linebacker, both returning starters, and Bradley Shaw is your next guy. The question after that becomes, is Trent Whalen going to be a guy that helps him? Is Andrew Harris? Is Wyatt Simmons? I think those are your top options there. I don't necessarily dislike what they have. I love Cam Ball, first of all. Everybody knows that. I think Danny Saili can be a player for them. Ian Ford, David Oakey. I just wish there was another guy in his 20s, like who's been in a college weight room and has played some snaps. And then defensive end, just think they're a little thin. We went over offensive line pretty thoroughly already. Tight end, I like Rohan Jones. They do seem encouraged by what they have at tight end. I know Poshka is not a guy that's going to catch a pass like he just caught on that video. Here we go with Rohan Jones there. You can see him. Rohan moves well. He's put together. He's not super tall. But as I've said before, like some of the offseason numbers that he put up, like as far as, miles per hour speed and bench and squat, Luke Hasz isn't touching those numbers. Like Luke, I'm not saying he's going to be a better tight end than Luke Hasz. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like from those offseason numbers, Luke hadn't touched those. And I'll say at the same time, Tyrone Broden has some pretty outstanding numbers in the offseason in testing and didn't have a great, he's a starting wide receiver and only had 15 catches. So it doesn't mean everything, but it can be an indication. So Jaden Platt's the guy that really needs to come on. Jaden Platt, to me, has the biggest upside because he's 6'5", all of it. He's 265. He only added 5 pounds. He looks like he lost weight. And he added 5 pounds, but it's, baby fat and putting on a little bit of muscle. So he's a guy, like, to me, maybe kind of an X factor, I had a good time talking with Rohan Jones the other day because I did take high school French, and I told him, bonjour, je m'appelle Trey, comment allez-vous? And he said, he's doing good, how am I? And I said, I'm doing good, bien. That's about the extent of my French, but, he's from Montreal originally. Played at Maine, didn't even really know about the SEC even when he went to Montana State, like didn't understand like all that big college football stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but he aspires to do good things. Got some more video here. Jacaden Ferguson, I like him a lot at wide receiver as a freshman. I like Antonio Jordan a lot. I think they've got some options there. So. And special teams, Devin Bale, stud. Ashton No, very consistent long snapper for him. The question is going to be what's Scott Starzik going to be able to do when you've got freaking 100,000 people screaming at him in Neyland Stadium and the game is on the line. Something like that, right? Where's his head going to be? Scott Fountain said yesterday on Sunday that he's got a lot of Cam Little in him, like attitude-wise. Cam was a little cocky sucker. I love Cam Little, but he was cocky for a kicker. So anyway, let's get to a few questions now. Chad Razorback's been with us 21 months. He's got 1,978 posts, and he says during camp drills or scrimmage that pits the offenses versus defense, how do you get a feel for if one group actually is good, if the other group is just bad? I mean, I've been fooled before. A couple of years ago, I thought the defensive line was just going to be outstanding. Now, they were good. The 2023 defensive line was probably as deep as they've ever had. I mean, that's no joke. It probably was. And it was a good defensive line. It wasn't an exceptional defensive line because the offensive line was so bad. So, yeah, there's part of that. I mean, you kind of got to base things on what you've seen in the past. How players performed last year with other teams. That the thing with the offensive line is you can see, these guys are a lot older. That offensive line back in 23, you had a lot of guys that just had not played football. They were younger, inexperienced, and it really showed. And to be honest, I just don't think that they were coached that well. I don't think that there was good communication with Cody Kennedy and Dan Enos. And I think that's the reason neither of those guys are at Arkansas anymore after that year. So, Hog Wild 97, who has looked most impressive so far? That's a very general one. I could say by position group. How about that? Obviously, Taylon Green at quarterback just looks a little bit different. I think that there's, KJ and Taylon are definitely two best-looking quarterbacks. At running back, I love the way Mike Washington looks now. I think that Braylon Russell also looks good too. But Mike, just his combination of size, speed, some of the numbers that he checked out in summer, like he's got like decathlete, like good in every event kind of stuff. And I think he catches the ball pretty well. Offensive line, it's hard not to be impressed with Shaq McCroy. I just think it's a matter of time before they say, okay, we're going to go with Shaq. Maybe it's not even the first game, but I think when, the games are big, I think we'll see big Shaq McCroy at right tackle. And of course, Fernando Carmona. And I like Cam Robinson a lot too. I mean, Corey Robinson a lot too. I know I'm just like mentioning everybody, but like Shaq jumps out just because of his ceiling. Rohan Jones at tight end with Jaden Platt having a lot of potential, but Rohan Jones is definitely the best tight end on the team right now. Quincy Rhodes at defensive end. Cam Ball, defensive tackle. And again, I like what I've seen from Danny Saili coming along so far. Like both the linebackers. I like Shaw a lot too. I think he's got a lot of potential. If I'm picking one of those guys, obviously I go with Xavier Sori. But man, just like when they're standing around just looking at him, Steven Dix is really put together, man. He's a big dude. Like Julian Neal a lot among the cornerbacks. And Larry Worth. I'm a Larry Worth fan. I think Larry Worth just has so much potential. I mean, he just has so much potential. I know last year, like with him, there were plays where he was really good and plays where he was really bad. And I think a lot of that is just coming from Jacksonville State, not really being moved to linebacker, nickel, safety, like playing him all over the place. But I like him at safety best, better than I like him at nickel. Okay. Packing a Hog 54. Okay. Is C.J. Brown ready to be a starter? A lot of hype surrounding new pieces like Antonio Jordan and Mega Blake and the two guys. It seems like the coaches have CJ running with the ones for now. All right, let's talk about – they're going to travel like 8 wide receivers probably, okay? So who are the 8 traveling wide receivers? Raylan Sharp and Cam Shanks, okay? They're your top 2 slot guys. Omega Blake on the outside. C.J. Brown. Monte Harrison. Antonio Jordan. And then I think you get a little bit more question, right? Am I leaving somebody out? Because there's Andy Jean, there's Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I like Jacaden Ferguson. I like the looks of him too. Am I leaving somebody out among that group? Cross Johnson is another one. So I feel like I don't maybe know the order. Like I think Raylan Sharp starts. I think Omega Blake starts. After that, I think it starts to get a little more jumbled. I mean, it could be Monte Harrison. Antonio Jordan could eventually emerge into a starter. Jaylen Brown is intriguing. So But C.J. Brown going to be a starter. I don't know if he'll start when it's all said and done. He did run the fastest time. He ran 22.4 miles per hour. That's the highest peak speed anyway. It doesn't mean like he would have the fastest 40. It just means as far as his peak speed, it was faster. Pit Crew 31 says, top player you see on offense so far. A lot of people want to know the top players. Top player is Taylon Green. Top defensive player on defense is Xavier Sori probably. What player do you think is under the radar that may break out this year? I think it could be Saw Ely. I think people, but also think that a lot of people who are casuals, follow a little bit but don't really follow the team, don't know everybody on the team. I think a lot of those people are going to know who Rohan Jones and Mike Washington are by September, mid-September or so. Have anything you've seen change from a coaching standpoint? I mean, I don't think anything's really jumped out. I mean, they've done things a little bit different. They've kind of maybe done a little more like county fair type stuff. But it's not really like county fair. Like county fair was like moving position groups to doing the same drills. It's not really like that. It's maybe within the same position group where they split them up and a group does this and a group does that. I mean, just minor things really. I wouldn't say I've seen anything dramatic. David Crappin. Yeah, that's a good one. Crappin, Schitz. Good name. Charlie Collins, he says. He's been with us just 2 months. It's only his third post. Charlie Collins says, David says, Charlie Collins, hey, Trey, love the show. I have 2 questions that aren't related at all. How has Charlie Collins looked at camp every year? I have not seen a whole lot of physical difference in Collins. Like, I went and looked at him. To me, he looks about the same size. They had mentioned him being down at like 225 last year. Maybe that was an incorrect weight, and he's now at 250 something, but I feel like he was pretty close to that in the spring probably. Every year in the Pittman area, we've won a game or two that we shouldn't have won. Is that true? Every year? I don't think so. Not in 2023. They didn't. They definitely lost some games they should have won. Which game do you think that will be this year? Last year they beat Tennessee. Nobody had them winning that. The year before, nobody had. I mean, I think they were double-digit underdogs against Mississippi State in 2020. 2021, they obviously had a pretty good year then. 2022 was okay. Subpar. 2023 was bad. 2024 beat Tennessee. This year, who do they beat that nobody – I mean, it's possible Ole Miss is breaking in a new quarterback. It's possible it could be Ole Miss. I've heard people say that they're not blown away with what Tennessee's got going at quarterback right now. Maybe that's a possibility. Somebody on this schedule, though, that Arkansas is playing that you look at and you say, this team, they have no chance against this team. Somebody's going to have like a meltdown season, That's just going to happen. Like a team that you think is going to be really good, things aren't going to go well, injury bug hits. Hopefully it's not Arkansas, and they just kind of wet the bed, and maybe Arkansas catches a team like that. Tennessee, they caught them last year, though, and Tennessee ended up going to the college football playoff. So Arkansas is going to show up and play these games. It's a tough, brutal schedule. Notre Dame lost to – who'd they lose to last year? They lost to somebody – like New Mexico State or something. Let's see. Can I get the last year's schedule, please? Come on. How could you not put last? There you go. Okay. 24-25. So Notre Dame last year beat Texas A&M 23-13, and then Northern Illinois. That's who it was. Turned around and lost to Northern Illinois at home. They played at Kyle Field, came home, took Northern Illinois for granted, and let this be a lesson, Arkansas, because Arkansas State and Memphis are not going to just like roll over and let it happen. Like they're not going to do that. You got to show up for teams like that. Junkyard Hog, 78 minutes ago. 197 months. 197 months this guy's been with us. Appreciate you, Junk. 67,207 posts. That's dedication. Danny West, you're a rock, steady and never wavering. Give us a group. So I should have asked this for Danny. I should have checked on it. Give us a group you're most excited about and tell us why the DL group is overrated and underrated. I think we covered that pretty good junk. If you don't think I did, you can just ask me on the message board and we'll get back at it. P. Richson, 35 months, 63 posts. Do you think we'll be limited offensively since we have new wideouts despite TG? I don't think the offense is going to be limited. I think they could be facing a tougher schedule, but I look for the offense to put up some numbers. I think it's possible there could be some shootouts. I just wonder, I worry about that defensive line. Like if defensive tackle has an injury bug, I wonder about defensive end. And then if it comes down to that, then it's, it's just getting pounded on, and keep away. They just take the ball out of your hands. That could be the thing that limits the offense is being, not having enough up front on defense in this conference. KP Fowler, 24-24, 28 months, 62 posts. Have your thoughts regarding defensive line depth changed? Right there. No, they haven't. Memphis Hog 901 says 22 months, 15th post. Is Crutchfield just going to be a scout team guy? Also, what do you think of Feinbaum's comments on Lashley? I don't know anything about like some of the stuff that he said about him like trying to undermine Sam Pittman and get the Arkansas job. I had heard that, maybe he wasn't thrilled with the idea of the Arkansas job. I've heard that. Maybe that's just kind of what you say, because I'm worried about the job that I have right now. Here we are coming into a new season. But I have not heard anything about him trying to undermine or anything like that. So Abe James 73 says, I love the increased size in the secondary overall. Abe's been with us 44 months. This is his 1,045th post. But do you think once week 3 rolls around that we can run with the guys from SEC schools? I think there's a possibility. I mean, I keep saying it. I don't think it's a bad looking secondary. Are they going to be awesome? I don't know. Probably not. Is there a guy that's a stud? But like you look at him, like George Young, starter for Cincinnati, started his career at Florida. Going to be Arkansas starter in the slot at nickel. Kenai Walker started at Oklahoma last year. Julian Neal's, he's the highest ranked transfer portal addition that they got. He was at Stanford. He was at Fresno State before that. Selman Bridges was the number 119 ranked prospect in the entire country, regardless of position, last year. I like Keyshawn Davila. He was the number 1 ranked junior college cornerback in the country. That they just signed. I mean, and Jaheim Singletary's bigger. Jaheim has not lived up to 5-star status yet, so we'll see how that goes. But it's not a bad-looking group. I mean, but it shouldn't be. Like, if you look out there and it's like, I just don't know about this, like, then that would mean that they're doing just a terrible job. It's a bigger group than it was last year. Ben Souders and I had a bit of an exchange when he came in because I had said on the show, like after I'd gone through and explained everything about how this is, the mile per hour speed doesn't necessarily translate to like a 40 time. There's different ways to measure speed and all this stuff. I accidentally said it looks like a slower team, and that's the only clip that somebody showed him. So he pointed out all the numbers to me about how much bigger they are everywhere except for the defensive line, and how they're either faster or they're almost as fast, but they're bigger everywhere. Like I think in the secondary, it's a difference of like 197 pounds and 182 pounds. Like it's a pretty significant difference. I think that's right. It's probably not the exact number, but it's something like that. And I mean, that's pretty significant to be that much bigger. Man of Squeal says, what are your thoughts on the current QB room and our depth behind Taylon Green? I would like if KJ Jackson is the heir apparent, because the idea of being in Bobby Petrino's offense for another year, I kind of felt like when Madden Iamaleava was here that he would be the next starting quarterback at Arkansas. Just liked him a lot. I like the way he throws the ball. I like the way he attacks the defense. Live arm, a lot of upside size-wise. He's tall, but he could put on more weight. Also, can you elaborate a bit on the VR headset and how they use it to help quarterbacks? I have not seen how they would use that. I've played that football game with the VR headset, where where you but it's kind of stupid because you kind of have to flick your wrist and throw the thing, you know. But in that game, there's the field, and I'm looking around at my receivers and all this kind of stuff, and I haven't played it in a little bit. But with that, they have a GoPro on their head. So he's looking around different spots. So is it basically like watching film in VR? Because if it's like that, that to me would make me feel sick. You know what I mean? Because it's you've got this static camera on your head and it's filming I guess in VR. I guess it's a VR. I think it's a GoPro. So are there VR GoPros? I don't know. But for VR, you got to have two cameras, because you got to kind of mimic the eye. So you get that depth. But if you're just sitting there and then the camera's just doing whatever he was doing, you know what I mean? Wouldn't that make you sick? You ever watch a video and somebody's bad at filming and you're trying to see something that's over in the corner and they just keep missing it and you're just you're moving like that? That's kind of what it would make me think is, you know what I mean? So I would like to see exactly what's going on there with that VR. Is it integrating two videos some kind of way? I don't know. I guess when we get to talk to Talon, I'm going to ask him a little bit more about it. Colt Tap says, Trey. Colt Tap's been with us 65 months, 1,062 posts. Trey, not specifically for this week's show, but regarding daily video posts. I know learning new players roster. Oh, he says he appreciates when we have. Yeah, I've got me shooting video and then two interns shooting video. And one day I was just Philip Lee, Charlie Collins, just so people know. And a lot of people have said that they appreciate that. So I've indicated them to say the name if they know the name. Raw Hog says 68 months, 977 posts. Has your starting offensive line prediction changed? It has not. I don't know 100% who's going to be starting right guard. I think it could be Kobe, but I think it's Corey Robinson, Fernando Carmona, Caden Kittler, whoever the right guard is, Shaq McCroy. That's what I said. I just don't see how you keep Shaq McCroy off the field. I love Marion Harris. He stepped in. He helped last year when they needed him. And maybe he finds a spot at right guard. Maybe he's the right guard. But I just feel Shaq is just so big and talented. I don't see how you keep him off the field. And the fact that he dropped 344 when players are telling him, you got a chance to be one of the best players to come through here. And all the players think that, that was one of the things that helped change his mindset. And then he goes and drops 18 pounds because he takes it seriously. Biggest difference or takeaways you see from Talon this year? It's hard to say when they're just doing these drills, but that he understands the offense better. I mean, he's got to. I think just understanding, how to get the offensive line in the right spots, right protections, knowing where his receivers are going to be, not thinking. I mean, anybody knows that not thinking and just being able to do, helps you. So, all right. Appreciate you. Go check out our friends at Crane Automotive also before we get you out of here. Again, 16 locations throughout Arkansas. Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen. Access thousands of pre-owned vehicles. So every lifestyle, every budget, and also have the Crane Team Service Centers. So the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle. We actually used them recently. They did a great job. Did a great job for us. So maybe I'll see them again if I end up buying this new car. It's hard to find time right now, but I got to get to Walker Brothers because I need some shirts. I mean, I've already gone through my 4 primary, performance polos that I wear to practice, and because I ruined some of them. I mean, who thought sunblock would just ruin those? Turned all of my collars gray on those shirts, and I can't get it to wash out. So I'll be seeing you soon, Thomas. Appreciate Walker Brothers, Crane, Bet Saracen. And I want to give a shout out to Sutherland. Sutherland's is going to be sponsoring the Walk and Talk this year. They'll be the lone sponsor of the Walk and Talk. But really appreciate them. They got a lot of locations in Arkansas. Razorback fans running that place. I don't know if you knew that, but we'll talk more about some of that stuff later. But really appreciate Sutherland's also for being with us on the Walk and Talk this year. All right. That's it. Was it a good show today? I think it was. Feel like it was. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the show. Let me know what kind of vehicle you're driving, if you like it. You think I might like it. Thinking SUV. I might go truck, but I'm thinking SUV. All right, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.